When I got this project, I was very excited to be working with Glenn again. He worked with me on Ty West's Triggerman, as well as The Roost, as a visual effects supervisor. Glenn also worked on Larry Fessenden the last winter in the same capacity, and it's really because of his background in visual effects. We knew that it was going to be very helpful in making this movie happen because we're working on such a low-budget scale, and we wanted to produce, a high-quality movie with high-quality effects. And so, in order to do that, we put our heads together and pulled together a great visual effects team, and all these collaborators came together to really give Glenn the resources that he needed to make the movie happen.
Oh, cut you up something horrible.
I think the movie was fairly well storyboarded, but for certain scenes, I wanted to go ahead and actually make animatics for the scenes.
Get little bastard! Get little bastard! There you are, Mr. Murphy.
It basically is a more advanced version of storyboards. So he was able to sit there and say, move the camera here, move the camera there, and he would basically see how the scene was going to play out. With my traditional background being in 3D, I basically set up the scenes in Maya, which is a 3D program, and blocked out using virtual cameras and virtual characters all of the scenes that we needed to do for the visual effects.
And so for a scene like the vampire scene, where the guys pull the stake in and out of the corpse, I pretty much had that scene completely planned out in my head before I set foot on set. So, I mean, you can shot list, but to actually get in there and fool around with camera and fool around with blocking, and to sort of be the god of that little world, I mean, it really gave me the confidence going into those scenes, knowing that what I was doing was going to work. Which was great. It was a very cool thing to be able to do, a great luxury, but it was also very important for me on set to realize at a second's notice I need to abandon absolutely all of my preconceived ideas of what that scene is about, because you're in a real location with real people with real time constraints, so you have to be very malleable to that kind of situation.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Early on in the script, we knew that we couldn't handle these the headless shots ourselves, or certainly wasn't anything that I could have done. And myself and Peter Polk went around to several houses in New York City and just started interviewing with them, letting them know our budget and what our ambitions were. Some people sort of just kind of laughed at us and said, how the hell do you think you're going to manage that on such a low budget? And then some people were interested, and I think out of everyone that we met, spontaneous just seemed to be the just have the right attitude and the right kind of the right desire, to get to jump in and do something different.
So I think we did about 11 or 12 shots of headless man, of Stump. We did the knife throw shots, putting in the CG knife, and then there were some shots on the beach. It was basically anywhere where there was like a knife protruding out of somebody's head. We put the knife in digitally.
Drop it and live.
So, and here's actually the knife from the shoot, and we took this knife and it was a reference for our modelers to use, and so we actually modeled the knife and we modeled all the details and took a lot of high-resolution photographs of the knife to use as texture maps. So here you can see the basic 3D model. This is called a wireframe, essentially how we're working. The wireframe actually looks like that, where you can see the wires that actually make up the 3D model. And so once we've done that, we actually go in and we look at the shot and we animate the knife in the shot. So you can see that here, you can see in the background, you can see the live action. And then here you can see our wireframe knife with the texture wrapped around it. And you can see it fly right by his head.
The biggest thing we had to tackle was the severed head, which involved getting a stump, a bloody stump that was created in CG, and then prepping the elements that were shot to integrate with that CG stump.
When someone says we need this model, the first thing that we usually do is look for reference. So I did have to actually look for people without heads to make this as accurate as possible. So I had to go through and try and find headless pictures. So I made the neck here in ZBrush, It's a 3D modeling software. It's very quick to make skin details, very quickly apply them on to make it look as real as possible. Even have it separated inside the neck as well as the vertebrae. So this is obviously the vertebrae inside the neck, which was added for the extra detail, for the realism. So you believe that the character is actually headless.
This is a flame, right, where we did all of our compositing work. Like I said, we started out with the bits and pieces. Like here we have the actor with the green screen mask on, right? And a clean background of just what was going on. And as I said, Willie, who was shot over green screen. So the process of this was, first and foremost, we had to get rid of the green screen head, and that just involved, it took us rather, tracing the head and going kind of like frame by frame to get rid of it, or just to create a hole that we could cover over with Willie. We took Willie's head and we stabilized it so that it just didn't move. It was kind of fixed. His head kind of stays in one spot. After that, we got rid of the green screen to make a mat for Willie's head. So we end up with this. And then we took that and we tracked it onto the shot.